wheel bearing for the driver's side of a 2009 Nissan Altima 2.5 liter CVT transmission. You're going to need some tools before you get started. Just make sure you jack up your car, use a jack stand, and block your wheels. And then you're going to need the following tools to do the job. Okay, so the tools you need to do this job, you're going to need a pair of pliers, needle nose, a flat tip, screwdriver, small hammer, a big hammer. You're going to need a couple of ratchets. You're going to need a breaker bar. You may need some extensions, but I didn't use them on this side, on the driver's side. This is probably the tool you want to get if you don't have one. An electric impact wrench. If you have a air impact wrench, great, but this is like $39, real cheap. Then you need some sockets. You'll need a 32 socket for the axle nut. You're going to need a 22, and it's also for the brakes. You're going to need two 21s. So I have this 21 and this 21, and this is for the strut. You're going to need 17. This takes off the bolts for the wheel bearing, 17 millimeter. This 10 millimeter is for the ABS sensor. And you'll also need a jack stand, a jack, maybe a light, and obviously your parts. If you gather all those tools up at the beginning, it'll go a lot quicker as you're doing the job. And I bought these Timken wheel bearings for $70 each. So now we're going to get off the wheel. It's a 21 millimeter. We're using this Chicago Electric electric impact wrench, which is like $39. It's really cheap at Harbor Freight, and it comes in really handy if you don't have an air compressor or you don't have an impact wrench. They can be really expensive. This is super cheap. It's almost like a throwaway tool, but okay. So we're going to use this Chicago Electric impact wrench to remove the tires. It's a 21 millimeter socket. So we're going to take this tire off. Okay, so we're going to be taking off the wheel bearing. You might have to replace the wheel bearing if you're hearing like a real loud growling noise in your car. This one was making a really loud noise at about 40 to 60 miles an hour, and I have a clip of the sound it was making so you can hear what it sounds like. So anyway, let's get started. First thing we want to do is remove this brake. So to do that, we are going to need a 22 millimeter wrench, and we're gonna need, unfortunately, well, we can take this shroud off too. Actually, let's do that first. And this shroud is just held in by little pins. You can just pop them out. You got to be careful with these because they break easy. So you just use a screwdriver, pop it out, pop out the little tab. That, and then they come out like that. If you force them out, they're gonna break, so just be careful with them and be gentle, and they'll come out nice and clean. There's usually 5 of them, 5 of these tabs holding it on. There we go. We got that out. Now just free up some space for us. Now we need to get this off of here. So, and unfortunately, that's not going to work, right? Probably need a smaller impact wrench for those. So we're going to use a breaker bar, because these are usually on there pretty tight. Okay, so we can't use that impact wrench to get them out, but you're gonna have to break this free with a breaker bar or something from underneath, because they're gonna be on pretty tight. So I use this breaker bar to get them loose, and then I'm gonna have this other socket. So we're gonna take these out. And we're basically going to suspend this brake so it's up out of our way. And I usually like using some kind of bucket that'll slide right under here, so I have a place to set it after I get it loose. Alright, so take these out. Use the socket to help me unscrew them. We want to hold on to it while we're taking it out. Okay, got that out. And now we can take this brake and just set it right here on this bucket, because we're gonna take off this clamp here. We do that with just a screwdriver. Just pry it off. comes off pretty easy. And then this slides down, and then the hose goes through that slot there. Now we can just set it right there for a minute, and we don't want to lose this little bracket. Next we can take the rotor off, set that off to the side. Okay, now we're going to take this axle nut off and this cotter pin. To take that off, you're going to need a pair of pliers. Just bend the cotter pin straight. Okay, then we just stick the other end in here, try to pry it. Okay, almost got it out. All right, there's the cotter pin. Now, this axle nut is a 32 millimeter. Right on there. And we're going to use our impact wrench to get it out. Took a few minutes, right? But we got it. So there we have it. It's if you don't have an impact wrench, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. Okay, so this impact wrench that I got from Harbor Freight, like I said, is only 39 bucks, and it's well worth it to do the job. This kind of repair, I took it into the mechanic, and they said it was going to be $380 for just the labor for the bearing. So, that's way too much money because the job is easy enough for you to do yourself. Now that we've got the axle nut off, you can see this is already loose, right? So we can take these strut bolts off, and that'll allow this whole knuckle to lay forward, and then we can get out this CV axle. And it'll also, once we take out that CV axle, it'll give us better clearance to get out the bolts for the wheel bearing. So the first thing I want to do is get this CV axle out of the way. So what we want to do is we want to take off this ABS sensor, which is right here. This is the ABS sensor. Then we have two speed sensors up here that we're gonna pop out real quick. And then we're gonna take these two strut bolts out, and then this is gonna lay forward. So this, first I'm gonna do the ABS sensor, and that is a 10 millimeter. That's a 10 millimeter right here. A little bit of an overkill. This just screws, and we can just slide this right out. Set this off over here. I'm going to put this screw back in here so I don't lose it. Okay, now we're going to take off the speed sensors. And these just are rubber grommets. They just pop right out. That one. That one. So now they're out of the way. Okay, now we're going to take off these struts, nuts. For this one, you're going to need two 21 millimeter sockets. I'll use a breaker for this. All right, so let's take these out. Go. Don't want to lose the nuts. Put these on here. Now we can push this down and this way and out, and this axle will come right out just like that. There we have it. So now to replace the wheel bearings, there's 4 17 millimeter bolts back here, right here. So we just take those 4 out, and then we're gonna probably have to beat it with a mallet a little bit, and it's gonna pop right out. So let's go ahead and remove those. Okay, so to do this impact wrench is pretty long, so I put the socket in first to get it onto the bolt, and then I find a position where I can get this in here like that, and then I can unscrew it like that. Okay, so again, I'm going to put the socket onto the bolt, and since this is a long impact wrench, and then I'm going to find a good spot to get it in there like that. Comes right out. This one is in a good position, so I can just straight to that one, and this one. The ones that are on the corner are a little harder to get to, so usually I just put the socket on it first, and then I find a good position, and then they come right out. No problem. So now I'm going to take these off. Okay, now to get this back, we're going to put this back in here like that, and we're going to put these bolts back in because it's going to take a little bit of force to get this out. So we're going to put these back in there. So that we can bang on this a little bit. So get these back in. Oh, dang gummit. There we go. Now we're going to take our mallet and we're going to beat on this a little bit. Again, we don't have to worry about these threads because we're replacing this whole thing, the whole assembly. So to get it off, you gotta beat on it. There we go. Pops right out. So this is our old bearing, full assembly. Now when you're putting this in there, you have this ABS sensor that's right here, right? So you got to make sure that you put it in so that the ABS sensor slot will be there. So so when you put it in, your new bearing, these two slots are on the top, and then you just stick it in like that and it should line up with your ABS sensor. So this is the plate, shield plate, and that goes right here like that. So now let's go ahead and put the new bearing in. This is the new one. And here we have the ABS slots. So we're going to want to put it like this. And we need this. Well, to put it in, actually, let's go ahead and take out these again. Have to wiggle it a little bit. come out. If you push down on this, this will lean forward, and now we'll have some room to do something. So we need this like this, and this here like this. Something like that. Now we need one of these bolts back in here. Now we just got to get it started. Let me use the socket. Whew. All right, that'll let me grip the bolt better. You want to do these by hand. You don't want to use the impact wrench to do this, as you can cause some major problems with your threads. Alright, so we got one started. Now we're going to do the opposite side on the bottom. Use this socket. Now we're gonna do these, and this one, top right. Again, I'm gonna use the socket. It's a lot easier to grip the bolt. Start them by hand. Last one. Okay. Now I'm just going to tighten them up. And then after I do that, I'm just going to make sure the ABS sensor goes into place. And then we'll be able to button it back up. Stop. Okay, so I tightened it up, and you know, when you're tightening it up, just tighten a little bit on each one. So start this one and then go to this one and then go in a pattern so you get a good, so it seats in there nice, right? So don't just tighten this one all the way down and then go to the next. So tighten each one, tighten this one a little bit, this one, and go into a pattern. Now here, I'm gonna see if the ABS sensor, just make sure that everything's cool, it goes in, we're good to go. So, wheel bearing is done. Just like that. Here it's come through here. And now, we're going to get this back into here. All right, once we got that bottom one in, this top one will be easier. All right, There we go. We got it back in. We need these two nuts back on here. We need our ratchets, 21 millimeters. Okay, and the top one. Okay, so we got that on there. Now we want to put our speed sensors and everything back. How we had it. They just slide into place like so. Then our ABS sensor. It just goes in here like that. You can't see anything, just like that. It's a 10 millimeters, so I'm going to tighten that up. Okay, snuged up. Next, we need to reattach the brake and the caliper, the rotor. So let's get the rotor. And make this easier, put a couple lug nuts on here. Yeah, that'll hold it. We'll put everything back on. So now we just need this brake back in place. Get it started. Okay. Get this bottom one started. Now use the socket because it's much easier to turn than the bolt, right? So you get it tightened up by hand. Bottom one. Okay. Now we have this pin. Put the hose through, and then we bring this up through here. Hose through. This up through there like that, and then this goes right on there like that. Okay, so now we gotta put the axle nut on. It's a 23 millimeter. All right, now we're going to put the new cotter pin, which is nice. Goes right on top of your bolt, and it lines up here. Just happens to be perfect. So we just slide this new cotter pin in. Get a hammer to tap it in a little bit. Then we're going to use our pliers. Tap it in just a little bit more. Alright. Like that. Now we're going to bend these over. Now be real careful. I'm just going to tap this down a little bit. don't want to mess up our thread. So throw this on here. Don't mess up our thread. And there we have it. Okay, so that's the major part of it. All we have to do now is to put back that strap, that plastic shield, put the tire back on, and then we're all done. So let me get this plastic piece back on. Move all this stuff out of the way. Okay. Okay, so just goes in here like this. Like that. If we can get this top one started, it'll make all the rest of them easy. There we go. One here. One here. And there should be 5 of them, but looks like I'm missing one. There should be one right there, but that's all right. Okay, now we just got to put the tire back on and we're all set. So this is a really easy job that you can do yourself. It'll save you a ton of money. I'll leave information about the parts that I used in the description below. I hope this video helps you guys out there save some money. Join us again for another video.